Welcome to the Four Ps Podcast. I am your host, Trunnis Goggins. I am so glad to be here today. I'm glad to be here every day because, at 55 years old, you don't know how many more days you got. Actually, I got a lot, so I'm not worried about it. Anyway, I am glad to be here today because I have a guest on my program today that, when it comes to four Ps, purpose, planning, passion, and persistence, this one right here, if you looked in the Webster's dictionary and you looked for the word persistence, you would see a picture of this woman. She is one of the strongest people I ever met. I'm not going to tell her story. I'm going to let her tell her story. Every single one of us, we all suffer from something traumatic, something tragic, something heartbreaking. All of us are going to go through that at one point in our life. We always sit there and say when something happens, I couldn't imagine. You don't have to imagine. It's going to happen to you, most of it, and I hate to say it like that. I'm not trying to sound pessimistic at all. I matter of fact, I'm being positive because I want you to be able to prepare for things and get yourself, and some things you really can't get yourself prepared for emotionally or physically. But what you have to do in that preparation is this, and this is what I mean by prepare. Get ready to move forward. Always get ready to move forward. There is going to be. I was talking to this woman one time, and the person who I'm interviewing, her name is Kate Lovett. I was talking to her one day. I said, "You're a strong person," and she responded in a way, people don't say no. You need to have pain. Pain is what makes you stronger. Believe it or not, if you were to break a bone today, and I don't want you to, but if you were to break a bone today, if the bone heals correctly, that part of your bone that broke and healed will be stronger than the rest of the bones in your body. And that's what happens when you go through emotional pain. Remember what I said, if you let it heal correctly, that will be stronger. So there are certain people that you say, oh my gosh, that is a tough person. I can't believe that person can endure so much and keep on moving. That is because that person in some way, shape, or form, that's what I wanted to say, will do things to make sure that they properly heal that wound. And now I'm not talking physically now, I'm talking mentally. And this is what happened with Kate. Kate literally went through and I will say it just the way I'm going to say it. She went through a shitstorm of stuff. And she is doing quite well. She turned that into what's called Unbroken. And I'm about ready to tell her whole story, and I don't want to. But it is an outstanding story from an outstanding person. When we come back, we will have Kate Lovett on the program. You notice how I just had to shut myself up. I just had to shut myself up because I was about to tell her whole story. That's how inspired I am by this person. But we'll be back right after this.
What if the life you want isn't out of reach? What if you simply need the right framework to build it? The 4 Ps of You introduces 4 powerful principles for becoming the person your next chapter requires. First, discover what drives you, the deeper reason behind every step forward. Then, build a plan that turns intention into movement. Fuel the journey with passion, the energy that makes the hard work matter. And develop the persistence to keep going when life gets difficult. Your next chapter starts with you. The 4 Ps of You by Trunnis Goggins II, available now wherever books are sold.
Welcome back to the 4 Ps Podcast. Like I said before this interview started, I met this person less than a month ago, and she is by far the most intriguing person I've ever met. She has a lot of persistence. This is what this show is about. We have the 4 Ps: passion, purpose, passion, planning, and persistence. And I said it out of order, and I don't know why. I wrote the book. I should say it in the order, but now I can't. But she has, if anything, she does have a purpose, and she absolutely has a plan. Her passion is impeccable, and it's her persistence that literally just it endears me to her as a person. Kate Lovett, all the way from Melbourne, Australia. And she also has a podcast that I'm going to tell you, and it says it right there, the Unbroken podcast. You need to listen to that podcast. The first episode came out last week, and it was outstanding. You will be seeing a lot of that. I'm going to tell you, I advertise it on my podcast. You know what, Kate? I'm going to tell you before I go into saying you are the very first other person's podcast I ever advertised on my podcast. Because I'm very
Wow.
like I want everybody to listen to my podcast. So there you go. And so
You can't take
there we
all
go.
the yeah, no, I feel
No,
very privileged. Thank you. It's amazing.
you're welcome. Kate, welcome to the podcast
Thank
and
you.
welcome to the program. Um, you have an interesting story, and we're not going to talk about the story that always. What I want to talk about is the Unbroken brand. You have the podcast. You have a journal that's coming out in October.
Correct.
You also, yes, but you also have, it's more than just the podcast and the journal. You also have a clothing brand, if I'm correct, right?
That is correct. The Unbroken Athletica clothing line will be coming out. We're looking at an Australian winter drop, so Australian summer winter drop for America. And it is unstoppable, unapologetic. So I can't wait for the women to be able to hear, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, see the designs that I've come up with that they'll be able to step into. So I'm really excited.
Absolutely. And I am too. Not that I'm going to wear it because I'm not going to wear women's clothing. But on the other note, I am very excited for the brand to come out.
Thank you.
What made you come up with this whole unbroken and I don't want to call it the brand because it's not even a brand. It is a brand, but it's a movement. What made you come up with this?
Mm-hmm. Unbroken came from my own rebuilding. After I've gone through domestic violence, I've experienced grief, I've lost everything financially. I've had two marriage breakdowns due to domestic violence. And through it all, and in that, I had also lost my mum very suddenly and unexpectedly. And I realized that somewhere there that I thought I was broken, but I really wasn't broken. And I had to, find everything, all those parts in me that I had lost all the way. I had to eventually start picking out what I wanted to rebuild and bring with me, because I didn't want to bring everything with me. That would have just been too much.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was learning. Really, again, it was just Unbroken came from my own rebuilding, and it was how I have done it. Everyone's different, so I'm not going to be telling women how to do it. It's just really guiding them, really, and showing them what you can do with pieces.
Wow. Now, you talked about you had two relationships that were riddled with domestic violence.
Correct.
You lost your mother. You have a daughter and a son. You have built. You really have. Let me just go back. What made you start rebuilding? After all of that, you've had a lot of stuff go on. And in the midst of the bad stuff still going on, you decided to rebuild during that time. You didn't rebuild after it was all over. You started your rebuild in the storm. What made you do that or caused you to do it?
I realized I didn't want to be stuck. I didn't want to stay where I was going to be constantly going through the same things. I needed to be able to say, okay, enough is enough. And if I allowed every chapter that I had gone through to carry with me into chapters after chapters, I would be 80 and I would still be just going through the same stuff. So for me, it was about saying, okay, I finally had enough and I'm going to reclaim my life and I'm going to choose what I take into every chapter moving forward. And you are no longer going to live rent free in my head. That's it. You're not living there anymore. So I decided that I was going to struggle and I was going to build from those struggles, not wait for it to be all over. Because if I waited, my perpetrator was still perpetrating. If I waited for him to stop perpetrating, I was just going to keep being miserable and stuck in a way that I didn't want to. My daughter's 30. I had to show her what you can do when you stand up, and it doesn't matter what tries to knock you down. Get back up, and you become stronger because of it. And if I can teach my daughter that, then my job was done.
You talk about your daughter being 30, and you talk about you needed to show your daughter, you know, and with domestic violence is definitely generational. And there are things that, and unfortunately, there are things that the kids of the perpetrator pick up and they utilize that in the next relationship. And there are also things that the kids that they pick up from the victim, and then they take that into their relationships.
Correct.
Um, Not that you have to go into that in any detail, and if you don't want to, I'll ask you another question. How is your daughter doing now?
Sure. So my daughter and my son they've handled it very completely different. And that's okay because
Mhm.
not one is the same. They should never be. My daughter struggles. She's 30. She actually suffers from endometriosis. She has to most likely have a hysterectomy next year. And to see her say, Mum, I'm okay with that because I don't think I could ever be with someone anyway. I know where that comes from. Um, and then I've got my son that turned to his faith. He's a strong Orthodox. He goes to church. He prays. He goes to youth group even at the age of 24. And I see his struggles though. I see them in my own way as a mum, but especially my daughter. She still lives under my roof. She still calls me mummy, and she's very close to my dad, her pop. But she decided when she saw enough, she couldn't even live under the same roof. So I knew then, and I felt like I was failing her as a mum, and that pains me to this day. And there's sometimes I look at her and my heart breaks because I know her struggles and how the domestic violence affected her. It affected her mental health.
So
It
do
affected her trust in
Mhm.
men. It affected her with relationships and friendships. So domestic violence doesn't just leave a bruise on somebody's face. And that's what people have to stop putting domestic violence, that it's not just bruises. There is things behind closed doors that people do not see.
That's true. And it's funny because if you I have a book out called Lessons from My Father, and in that book I don't go into deep detail, but I acknowledge that it was in my house.
Mhm.
My father, when he was passing away, before he passed away, he faced a reckoning, and he reconciled what he did, and asked for forgiveness and things like that, and obviously, I think he was forgiven. Um, but on the same note, there are traumas that carry over, and they carry it over with me. There are certain things that I do, there are certain things that we all do, that go back to our childhood. Your daughter, she does sound like someone who is an outstanding individual, regardless of what she's going through. And um, I hope there is a solution to her malady right now. I really do hope there's a solution, and that's for sure. Um, you are now running your podcast. You have a lot of people reaching out to you,
Correct.
really wanting to share their story.
Correct.
Um, what are some of the stories that you have on your podcast?
So I will be, we'll talk about the people that I'm going to bring into my space. I've got
Okay.
people that I've got somebody that has uh, lost a husband at a young age, went on a weight loss journey, and remarried, found love again, and most recently had brain surgery. I mean, if you cannot reclaim your life after that, I mean, geez, what a powerful story, and she keeps smiling every day. She's checking on you, making sure you're okay. That's the space I want. I want that person on there, because it means so much to me, and so many other women could just really listen to that story and take a lot away from it. I'll have somebody that struggled to get pregnant, and the system didn't hear her. I've got somebody that's gone through domestic violence. So just so many stories about rebuilding, and the strength that sometimes we don't see inside, that it's so easy to want to give up. It's so easy to stay in bed and say, I'm not getting out of bed today, I don't want to. No, it's okay, just one step at a time. And they're the kind of stories I want to have with people, because people look at you and say, oh, you've got an active wear and you've got this and that. It took a lot to get here. And I want to show other
Yeah.
women that it's okay to not want to get out of bed. I'm not telling you to run circles around the track, just one step at a time. And one step, believe it or not, is very powerful.
Yes, it is. And and I don't want to give your whole story away.
Of
I
course.
know that there's a journal coming out, and then it could be told at that point. But you lived here in America. You have a son that's a dual citizen. You were married to a service member of the United States military.
Yeah,
Um, you you had to leave, and that is one hell of a journey to
correct.
go literally around the world and start all over again.
Correct.
You had a second marriage where you were again, thrown to the wolves. It was, excuse me, definitely trial by fire. It was trial by everything.
Yeah.
Um, what you said, it's that one step. Clearly, you are not just saying that to other women. You do it. What do you do to keep moving?
I don't bring my past with me. It's so important. And I know it's so hard for us to look. I'll have there's going to be a podcast episode I speak about this, how you try to leave everything behind, and you can think that you're going 10 steps forward, and something will quickly knock you back, and you're like, it could be the smallest thing. Honestly, the biggest thing that I learned was that struggling is okay. It's okay to struggle. We are human. No one handed us a Bible and said that this is how life has to be. The biggest thing that I've learned, honestly, is that when you start leaving chapters, because everyone thinks that you think about it like this: you read a book, right? do you take each you take
Hmm.
each chapter with you? Sometimes you read a book, you're like, no, I'm going to forget about that chapter. I think that's like life. Like, you have to leave chapters behind. You don't have to carry everything, and you don't have to carry everyone else's burden. For the longest time, I was looking for people to apologize to me, and that's when I was able to move on. When I realized that's it. I'm not looking for them to apologize anymore, because if I started waiting for people to apologize for everything they did to me, like, I would just be sitting here forever. And that's why unapologetic is on my brands, because I'm no longer apologizing for people's behavior. And I think once I stopped carrying that, here I am. It's probably the most powerful
You
thing that
know,
I've done.
and it's powerful. It's a powerful statement. A lot of people want an apology, and we get stuck.
Correct.
We literally, what you just said, I'm sitting there thinking about it. I'm not going to do this unless I get an apology. How much do we miss if
Yeah.
we're looking for that apology? How much in history we're waiting for an apology from somebody from history, and we're not going to get it? How many times, we look at it? I'm talking world history. We try. You need to apologize for this, or we can't move forward. Then you're not moving forward, because I doubt that person is going to apologize. And
Correct.
there's a lot of times that there's a lot of, um, even with kids, when kids get, you raise your kids and then they move out of the house, and then they treat you like crap for a little while. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to be around you,
We're not
for
cool
a
no
little while.
more.
Then no, then but then about, isn't it like maybe I'll say, so my oldest living daughter, we had a conversation about a year ago. Now she has three children. Okay, so I have three. I have more than that, but for her, I have three grandchildren. And we had a conversation one day where she gets it, and she got it from, she's like, Dad, I didn't realize, and it made me feel so good about that conversation. But a lot of parents will sit there, and I'm using parents at this point. We can use spouses in a minute. A lot of parents will get hung up on their kids because they didn't get it right off the bat.
Mm.
And now that kid is worthless to them because they didn't get it.
So
And it
true.
gets you stuck. You get stuck in that. And what you just said, I stopped waiting for people to apologize.
Yeah.
And when you did, like you said in the very beginning of the conversation, I stopped letting people live rent free in my head.
Yeah.
That was a great line. But you know what? And here you go. I want the audience to hear this. Stop letting people live rent free in the head. The best way to stop people from living rent free in your head is to say, "Hey, you're not going to do what I want anyway. And what I want is an apology. What I want is for you to act with some civility. What I want is you to do, and you're not going to do that. So you know what? I'm just gonna go on and do what I got to do in life and call it a day." Um, and I love that. Stop looking for an apology from everybody. Just stop looking for it. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to live a lot better life when you stop looking for an apology. I love that, because now your life is totally, you are really helping people. And we had a conversation offline recently, very recently, and I said, you know what, you are a very strong person. And your reply to that was astounding. You say a lot of people um, equate strength, and I'm paraphrasing, to everything is going all right and all that other stuff. And that's not the truth. There's a lot of people who are strong that are just, it's like, one of my favorite movies is Rocky. Rocky is strong, but he did not win every fight. He
Correct.
got up and moved. He was still in pain. He still was licking his wounds, but he still moved forward. And that is when I say you're a strong person, Kate, I'm saying that because you mentally, physically, literally, figuratively got knocked down,
I did. I
but
did.
you kept on getting
Correct.
up. You just, and it's just like, there was scene in Rocky, I think it was Rocky 2, where Apollo Creed was just jacking Rocky up. I mean, like totally, like just beating him. He was just beaten to a pulp, and Rocky stood back up, and Apollo just shook his head like, "What are you doing?" And sometimes that's probably, Kate, what life looks at, like the bad part of life looks at you is like, what is she doing? She's getting right back up.
Because if I had to
Um,
wait, I'll just say this though, I'll answer that just quickly if that's okay. Because if we have to
yeah, go
wait,
ahead. Yeah.
if we have to wait for people to pick us up, we could be down for a long time. The world's not the way that it used to be. No one's going to come and save you. And when I learnt that as well, that nobody is coming to save me, that was the beginning of building something that I genuinely believe in. And I had to, again, it goes back to, if you have to sit and wait until somebody apologized, then you would just be sitting there wasting away, because there's so many people that don't want to own up. You'll hear in my podcast, actually next week, I talk about exactly this and exactly how that I also had to look in the mirror at some stage and say, what can you do differently? And when I owned up to certain things as well, that helped as well. So biggest thing here is stop waiting for people to save you. Save yourself, because nobody's going to save you. And if you're waiting for an apology, stop. And if somebody's waiting for an apology, they don't deserve it, be unapologetic. That's my moving forward.
Absolutely. That is beautiful. Um, the athletic clothing line. What
Yep.
type of clothing do you have in that clothing line?
Sure. So I'm going to have some leggings. I've chosen 2 colors I'm going with, very strong colors, titanium and sage mist. And I do have a video call today to check out how it's all coming along. Obviously the sports bra, got the shorts, got the tank top, but one of my favorites is the bomber jacket, which is just, I just can't wait. I can't wait to show the women out there what they can put on. And it's just, yeah, I'm just truly blessed. And I just can't wait. I can't thank God enough to be here today, where I am even talking to you, but also just talking about an active wear that I'm, about to put out to the world, for women. It was never about how can they look beautiful in it. No, I want you to put this on, stand a little taller, no more shrinking, and be unstoppable and unapologetic in it.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was sitting there. If you saw me looking down, and I know that the audience saw me looking down, I had to see what sage mist looked like, so I had to pull up the color. I just had, I'm sorry. So I did pull it up. It's right. You can't see it very much, but I had to pull up the cover. I was like, the color. I was like, what is sage mist?
Yeah,
So I had to do
it's a
that.
beautiful,
Um,
powerful color. Yeah.
it is a very powerful color. Um, and you are doing the journal that comes out on October 21st. Um, what is the purpose of that journal?
The purpose of the journal was to not make it about me, but there are stories in there, about my own path. So everything is written from my own journey, but it's to give women a safe space. Sometimes I actually wrote the journal from having notebook here and a notebook there and this there and this there. And I thought, hang on a minute. I want this to be a safe space. It's only volume 1. I've got plenty volumes coming up. But it's basically to give the woman, she can sit down, grab a coffee, and just write what she might read chapter 1 because that's how she's feeling today. And next to it, there's just a little part that she can write in. So it was basically, I remember again just needing something. And I remember going into all the stores going, oh, I don't want that journal. I don't want that journal. That's not what it's about. So hopefully this could just, lift someone's spirits up and when they need it the most. So that was the meaning behind the journal.
It's outstanding. Outstanding. So you have a journal, you have a clothing line coming out, you have a podcast that is just outstandingly fantastic.
Thank you.
And you've done all of this in such a short time. And again, it is I am so glad to know you.
Thank you.
There are a lot of people out there on this podcast, and even after this podcast is, these, what podcasts sit in the internet forever and ever and ever. There is somebody, if they're not doing it right now, they're going to do it eventually. They're listening to this podcast and they are in a very, very bad spot. What, as a now a prior victim who's now a mentor, what would you say to those individuals right now?
I'll tell her that where she is right now doesn't have to end your story. It's so important to know that you may think that this is where my story ends. No, this is where it begins. And don't rush it. Just because somebody tells you, you have to be a certain way and you have to hurry up and do this, you better go. No. Just tell that person quietly and nicely, just take a step back for a minute. Yeah, give me my space. One step at a time. I used to think that I had to hurry up and be on everyone else's agenda because they needed me okay. No, it's okay not to be okay. And it's okay to take your time. And it's okay. It could take somebody a month. It could take you years. Another thing, don't ever compare yourself to someone else's journey. It becomes very bad for your mental health. You'll stop seeing your progress if you are constantly comparing yourself to everybody else. Oh, look at Kate. No. My struggles, you'll hear my struggles in my podcast and how I got to sit here today. Biggest thing, take your time, take a deep breath, pat yourself, give yourself credit, and remember your story is your story and that this is only the beginning. And don't be afraid to ask for help, because that is the biggest step that you can take, admitting that you need help.
Absolutely. I will say this: in the short time I've known you, I will know you for this, is you are, after all you've gone through, you still have a wonderful smile. You still have a wonderful spirit.
Thank you.
And I am so glad to know you. And I know that there are going to be a lot of women out there and men who are going to be glad that they hear your voice and are going to be very inspired by you. This will not be the last time you see her on the podcast. You will see her commercials on our podcast for a long time, because I'll tell you right now, you really need to, mine's purpose, planning, passion, and persistence, but you want an extra dose of persistence, you go to the Unbroken podcast and you will definitely get probably one of the toughest ladies in the world. She lives in Melbourne, Australia, way down there, way down there. In the Southern Hemisphere. Exactly. We will be right back right after this.
Recruitment has changed. The way you win business should too. Steve Tolan helps recruitment founders, leaders, and consultants across the world build authority, generate quality conversations, and create a more consistent pipeline through modern business development, social selling, and high-performance sales strategies. Through his Change the Game CTG program, Steve delivers practical training, mentorship, and live coaching that combines proven recruitment fundamentals with today's tools, technology, and buyer behavior. No theory, no generic sales scripts, just practical frameworks that help recruiters build trust, win more work, and stay ahead of a rapidly changing market. Change the game, build authority, win better business.
Welcome back to the final segment of the 4Ps podcast of this week. that was what you just saw with Kate was nothing but strength. Um, she is someone who, again, if you want to talk about the 4 Ps, if you want to put persistence, you go to the Webster's Dictionary, look under persistence, you're going to see a picture of Kate Lovett. No doubt about it. She's a very, very, very strong individual. Now, does that come with, like I told you in the first segment, does that come with pain? Yipper, it sure does. It does come with pain. It just, the stronger you are, the probably the more pain you endure. If you ever see warriors, if you ever see athletes and great athletes and stuff like that, they can point to any part of their body and you will see bruises, you'll see scarring, you'll see them, struggling to get up in the morning. You'll have all these different things. But again, that is what endurance is all about. That's how, I'm not trying to sound like Rocky and Rocky Balboa, but that is how winning is done, is to keep moving forward despite all of the obstacles, despite all of the pain, despite all of that stuff. You have to keep moving forward. You have to do it. I don't want you, and I'm going back to this today for some reason. I don't want you to ever use your pain as an excuse, because if you use your pain as an excuse, whatever caused that pain won. And that is a point, don't give them any more victories. Whoever them is, them could be an illness, them could be a former spouse, them could be a former best friend, them can be your next door neighbor who's just a total jerk. That them could be anything, but don't let your pain be your excuse, because then all you're doing is you're giving whatever caused you that pain further victory, and they don't need victory. They really don't need victory. I know a lot of people will sit there and they'll use something as an excuse. It doesn't matter what it is. They use it as an excuse. I'm not doing this because I'm not falling in love again because this person over here hurt me so bad. That person that hurt you so bad, guaranteed, does not ever want to see you happy. And the longer you stay in the road, the mode that you are, well, I'm not going to do this again because this happened or whatever, you have given that person the satisfaction that that person so desired. And that's horrible. Don't give that person, whoever that person is, don't give them the satisfaction. Don't give an illness the satisfaction. Don't give the illness, because you know what? What is an illness supposed to do? Illness is supposed to destroy. That's what it does. If you have this, it's supposed to take you down. Whatever it is. Flu, I'm going to start with flu, COVID. And yes, I am going to talk a little bit about COVID, just that much, I promise, because we still talk about it. Matter of fact, I was reading in the newspaper just a little while ago that COVID cases are outpacing flu cases right now. And I'm like, oh, here we go again. But you know what? The funny thing, I'm going to tell you right now, I am never going to go through the crap we went through in 2020. I'm sorry. I'm just not. I'm not going to, no. And I don't think, and I'm not speaking on just my behalf. I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there that are not going to do that lockdown again. We're just not going to do it again because it was, people were still dying anyway. And I hate to say it like that. I know that sounds horrible when I say that, and it might be even controversial, but no, COVID was a horrible thing. I know people who were very much negatively affected by it, but I also know a lot of people who were negatively affected by so many other things, and we kept on going to work and kept on doing what we're supposed to do. That's just the way it is. I know we are going to be negatively affected by something. Just like I said in the beginning, all of us are going to go through something traumatic. All of us. We are all going to go through that. And so I went off on a tangent. Let me come back. And I do want to say this about Kate. I'm going right back to Kate. One thing I admire about her is her strength. She is extremely strong, and she's very funny. And she is so funny, in fact, that she has her podcast, Unbroken, which is a phenomenal podcast. Please, 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 please listen to that podcast. It's great. But we are going to do once a month, we are going to do a live podcast. It's going to be called Zero Filter. It's going to come out. The first episode is going to be on October 16th. We're going to do that live. Now, obviously, she's in Australia. I'm here in the United States, so we're not going to actually be together. But in November, I will be in Australia, and we are definitely going to do a live episode. Not telling you where yet, because you know what? Not the reason why I'm not telling you where is because I have not a friggin' clue where it is going to be. But I do know that we're going to have a live episode, and I really would love to just like take people and say, hey, come here, I want you to talk about this. And when I mean zero filter, I mean zero filter. We're going to be talking about anything and everything and whatever. We're going to have a theme for for each show, but it's going to be once a month. It's going to be totally live. It's going to be an hour. We want you, the listeners, to please get involved. We will set it up. And again, we're working on all the particulars right now to make sure that you can come in on the live broadcast. We're going to have it streaming on YouTube. We're going to have it streaming on all the places where we do our things. We're gonna have it on Facebook Live as well. Where you just come on in and we'll be talking about a lot of stuff. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. And when I say zero filter, not only is it going to be zero filter for us, it's going to be zero filter for you. And I know some of my podcast listeners, and you guys are. I'm really taking a risk making sure that we are going to say that this is zero filter, because I really think there are going to be a lot of bad words. I'm probably going to have to put a disclaimer in the very beginning of our podcast. A matter of fact, I know I will. I'm not even saying probably. I definitely will have to put a disclaimer with that. And I think I'm going to have a lot of fun. But we're going to be talking about a lot of issues. We're going to be talking about some serious issues. We're going to be talking about some funny issues. We're going to be talking about issues. We're just going to be talking about stuff because we all have issues. There you go. We'll be back next week. Next week when we come back, we are going to be we're going to be talking to an individual who is an entrepreneur like no other. And she's also a great mom, and she has done some great things. She lives in Florida, but this is going to be where we are recording this episode. I have never recorded an episode out of this region of the globe. That is a hint. Her name is Shannon Procise, and she will be next week. And you are going to really enjoy her podcast as well. Until next week, be good, be strong. Do not use pain as an excuse. Don't ever use it. Talk to you next week. Until then, bye-bye.